Earlier you were talking about like introspection and how important introspection is in order to be able to give empathy. When you come across someone, especially maybe a younger person, I mean even a full grown adult this would apply to too, and they are really struggling to have that introspection, how would you help somebody?
More so than anything, I think we have to look back at our childhood. And when we look at who we were as a kid, and we ask ourselves, what did we need when we were a child? Uh, our younger version of ourselves is vulnerable. It's learning. Um, that's at its weakest, right? Like it's where people can use us. Sometimes a lot of abuse may have happened, X, Y, and Z, right? The easiest person to look back on to say, this is the person who needed empathy, this is the person who needed more understanding, is our childhood self.
Welcome to the Happy Soul Podcast. My name is Melissa, and this is Sammy. We are diving deep into conversations that connect and inspire. Stories of resilience, triumph, and transformation. Stories that take us to the heart of human connection. Please note that opinions of our guests do not necessarily reflect those of this podcast. Please listen with your kindness and an open mind. Each story shared is authentic and vulnerable. Let's embrace our differences with empathy, knowing every voice enriches us. Together, let's cultivate a community of respect and curiosity. Thank you for listening. Now sit back, relax, and prepare to be inspired. Welcome back to the Happy Soul Podcast, everyone. Today we're here with Bryan Saint-Louis. We've had Bryan on the show a couple of times before, and we love chatting with Bryan so much that we decided to just invite him back. We didn't have a rhyme or reason today. We didn't have a schedule. We've just been watching his content, and we love his message. We love what he teaches. We love watching his journey kind of unfold. So we just invited him back for this conversation, and it's a gooder.
Yeah,
Sammy?
we've just been loving watching, because we met him right when he first started this journey, and we have been just watching it grow and expand and seeing how much more traction it's taking and how many more people he's making an impact with. And we absolutely love him with his message, his desire, his drive, the work that he's doing. We believe in it so much, and we just wanted to pick his brain a little bit more. So today we're just, picking his brain. We get a little bit political, so if that's not your jam, but it's not in a bad way. It's a really healthy way. So we welcome you to join the conversation with Bryan and let it open your brain up a little bit. That's what I would like to say, because I think a lot of the things that Bryan talks about, we talk a lot about introspection, and I think that's something that we can all be better at.
Bryan is a speaker, an inspirational speaker who goes to schools and talks to youth. He does a lot of youth work and talks to youth about radical empathy specifically, and a lot of other great things. He is on a mission to connect with and inspire young people. And I was going to tell him, actually, Sammy, I meant to say this to him while we were chatting. I just have this vision of like, he's going to inspire this next generation of politicians, and that's going to change the world.
I hope so.
Watch he just like, the next whoever is going to be one of his students. I just think that's my vision for him anyway.
I love it. It's a good vision. So thanks for joining us on with no information about what we were going to talk about. We're really excited to have you, Bryan. I know this is like the third time we've had a conversation with you, and we're so grateful for Amanda for introducing us to you back when. And I got to be honest, just to intro off on a funny note, every time I make my son a peanut butter and honey sandwich, I think about when you walked into my house, and literally the first thing I said to you as a complete stranger was, "Are you allergic to peanut butter?" And you were like, "What?"
Random?
I actually don't even remember that, but that's real. No, but that's good. That's good, man. That's awesome. And again, appreciate you guys allowing me to come onto this podcast. You guys are both great. I love the conversations we have, and I'm definitely looking forward to another great one as well.
Awesome. We're so grateful for you to spend your time with us. Now, hang on. Do you have a podcast coming up, or has it started?
No, it hasn't started. I definitely want to get the podcast coming. I do. It's called the School Culture Playbook. The School Culture Playbook, and I wanted it to start or launch in March, but my life just got crazy busy. And then I said, no, I'm going to do it in April. And normally I stick very strongly to deadlines because it's very important for me to stick to deadlines. But right now, I said, let me just wait until September because there's so much that's happening throughout these next couple of months. And I just need a better reframe on how I'm going to get this fully launched. So I'd rather get it done well and knowing, especially before, this will be the start of the school year, just getting it launched in September instead. So that's the goal.
Smart.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, I'm glad I didn't miss it because I was looking. I'm like,
No,
I know I saw something and I felt bad that I hadn't listened to it yet. And I was like, no,
no,
okay,
no,
that's good. That's good. We haven't missed anything yet. That's good. That's
I
no,
so
want to
great.
absolutely.
It'll
before
be
before
awesome.
you jump in whatever your question is, Melissa. I just want to say I think of you. So my kids switched schools this year. They're in it's
Mm,
like a hybrid program. So I homeschool them with English and social, and then they do math and science and gym and
that's
art
awesome.
at school.
That's awesome. I love that.
But the school that they go to, so I just have to tell this one story this morning because
Mm,
it every time I walk into that school, I'm like, God, I love this school. Like it's so good.
mm,
So this teacher, and I thought of you this morning. I think of you every time I see this one teacher. He's not even my kid's teacher, but he's at the school is grade 1 to grade 9. I think he's a grade 8 or 9 teacher. I can't remember. And my kids are
yeah.
grade 1 and 2. And we walk in the school and whatever. And whenever I see him, he's always engaging with every student along the way. He's
Yeah.
always engaging. And like, even so much so, like, not just the students, like this morning we were waiting for my son's classroom to open. And I'm standing there with my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old. And he stops.
Mm,
He doesn't just put his hand out for a fist bump, like, get me as I go by. He literally stops in front of every kid and is like, want a fist bump? Like, I just want to, if you don't want it, he won't force you. He'll walk on. But he like takes the time to actually make sure that you think about it to make the decision to fist bump or not, which is
that's
really
real.
cute. And then there was
That's real.
a boy. This is the cool part. So two. There was a boy standing waiting for the classroom to open also, but his parents didn't come in with him, so he was kind of standing alone. And this teacher was clearly walking into the office to do something and stopped to be like, "Hey, like, what you doing? What's going on?"
Hmm.
And so again, this teacher teaches grade 8 or 9. This boy's in grade 1 or 2. And he starts engaging. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but just stands there engaging with the boy, seeing that he clearly looks uncomfortable, not being able to go into his classroom or not. And at the
Mm,
same time, he says hello to every kid that walks in while he's still talking to this little boy. And then this one boy walks in, and I should say one child. I don't actually. One child walks in, and headphones on, big hoodie, hands in their pocket, probably a grade 8 or 9, head
yep.
down, walking, like, just looks like maybe bad day, just like that typical teenage
Yep.
attitude. I don't want to talk to anybody. And the teacher's like, "Hey, good morning," and like watches the kid go by, and he turns his head down to catch the kid's eye and go, "Good morning." And then the kid's like, "Oh, hey," and like pulls out his headphones and fully engages. And I was like literally the instant the kid walked in the school, like what a moment he just made for that child
That's
being
real.
seen the moment he walked in. And I was like, Brian would love this.
But I don't know. I don't think that that's so hard to do. And I believe, yes, it's difficult when you have a lot on your plate as well, and there's so much tension, there's so much stress that you have and so I get that. I'm not trying to negate the fact that there are many teachers who are dealing with a lot of their own stressors. But the culture that we create, for instance, we're working with different schools. I have a school that I'm working with right now. I'm not going to say exactly which the school name is, but the culture sets up also how the educators come into that space. And so like I walk around the school, I say hi's, I do my high fives and everything of that nature. But then, when you don't see that a lot from all the other educators and you hear a lot more of what are you doing wrong? What's going wrong? Like that plays a part in how the students feel. And so, as much as we want to create a better culture, we also have to ask ourselves, as much like, for instance, I talk to the students all the time about this, but you have to ask yourself as an educator, what am I doing to elevate the space and make this a place where our students feel like they actually want to be here too? Because that's your responsibility. And as much as I know it's a difficult task, and at times it's our necessity to make that creative space as well.
100%. Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
that.
And you can feel it in this school. Like, it is so cool. This is the
It's real.
coolest. It's coolest.
Love that.
Anyway, sorry, I just had to tell you
So
that story.
No,
It's
that's
been sitting on
good.
my
I
heart
love it.
since 8:45 this morning.
That's so great.
That's
How
real.
great for you to find a school that works so great for your family.
How
That
old's
is
your kid again?
My oldest is 8, and then 6 and 4.
Yes, yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
and
yeah,
one cooking, Brian.
and one cooking. Yes, that's
Wait,
true.
did I know that?
I
Probably
don't know.
not. That was my joke.
Congratulations, man. What? Wait, what's that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh, good.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. It's good. That's why when you're like, I'm tired, I was like, me too. But definitely,
No,
definitely
you
not for
see,
the
now
same reasons.
I don't have nothing to complain about now. This is nothing
You
for
still,
me
it's
to
fine.
say.
You can still be tired. It's
No, man,
okay.
that's real.
It's okay. Anyways, sidetrack. Moving on. Okay, Melissa really wanted to roll into something here, so we'll let her go.
I do, but I want to tell you one quick thing about my school, and then I'm going to roll into this. But the thing that made our decision, actually, when we and my kids are little too, but when we decided to sign into the school that we are currently in, the day that we went for our we're going to meet the principal and see if this is a good fit, we show up for our meeting, and it was right when they were dismissing the kids, and the kids all line up and they have to shake the teacher's hand before leaving. And
Oh,
the teacher gets
wow.
down, and it's like, this is a preschool at this point. And excuse me, and there's the teacher getting right down to their level, shaking their hand and having a have a good day or have a good night.
Amazing.
That was a great day. And I was like, sold. That's it. This is the one.
Amazing. Wow.
Right? To show that much respect to young children like that, I
Ah,
was like, this is it. This is it.
you nailed it on the head. Look, I am not in any way, shape, or form going to say that it's not their parents' responsibility to teach respect. That's not what we're coming out and here saying here. What I do believe though is, especially as educators, the phrase I always say is this: I don't expect respect out of a student that I didn't teach respect. And so if I see somebody that came in and I know that I have not had certain interactions with the student, I can't expect something out of them that I never put into their lives. I didn't pour into them. And so it's my responsibility to show them the way that I want out for them. And then in doing so, now I can now model that life for them. And then I can expect that in a certain standard because we've now built this out through our relationship. But I know many educators come, oh, these parents are not teaching respect. All right, then model it. Do it. Let's make it happen for them as well because they can still learn it in some way, and maybe we could be the ones to do that. So I love and like you said, preschool coming down to their level, shaking
Yeah.
their hand like that,
Yeah.
that shows that human respect that we have for all human beings. So that's great. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm happy for both of y'all. That's great. That's some great schools, man. Like what's
Right?
going on?
We
That's
just wanted to
amazing,
tell
man.
you about our kids' school, Brian.
No,
That's all we wanted.
if that's what the conversation is. I'm good.
That's it.
No, because you know how many people I'm always hearing on the to be honest, I hear more so on the negative side of what's going on in certain schools, right? And so it's so good to be able to hear, you both as parents saying, "Man, I love the school that my child is going to." So that's amazing, amazing. Glad to hear that. That's great.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Okay. So I had so many things that were on my mind that and I watch your content, and every time
Oh
you
boy.
you put these reels out, and I'm like, oh, we gotta have another conversation. I gotta talk about this. But I think where I kind of wanted to start off with was you are so good at keeping up with current events and what is going on in the world. And you
Right.
talk a lot, we've talked about radical empathy before, but I've been really feeling this pull. And Sammy and I talked about how we'd like to have a conversation about everything that's going on in the world, but we don't want to leave anything out because there's so much happening in the world. We don't want to only react to the things that are close to home. We want to react to the things happening far away too. And it's something that you seem to be keeping up with very
Trying.
well.
Yeah.
It's hard, but it seems to be you're keeping up to it really well. And you always have this message, this reoccurring message of radical empathy and how important it is during these times. All of this stuff happening. Can we start there? Can we start talking about I didn't even really pose a question, but can we start talking about why radical empathy is so important when we're talking about all of these current events going on. We've got this war happening. We've got the ice stuff happening down south, which is like blowing my mind. And the all of these things happening is so, it just seems like I feel like I'm watching a bad movie like
Mm.
everywhere. But how do we keep that going? How do we keep this radical empathy pushing forward? And can you talk about why it's so important when all of these big things are going on?
Good question, honestly. And I think the question needs to go back to first, like, first of all, when we look at empathy in and of itself, right? Empathy, we look to understand, for simple terms, we look to understand, we look to go into somebody's perspective and see what we can do in order for us to alleviate or ameliorate the space that they're in, right? Radical empathy, we now stand up, speak up, show up for people, even if it comes at a cost to yourself. I like to put it in, as an illusion where, or an illustration where we don't just go into the whole of an individual, but we now create the ladder that helps them to come out of it, right? And so not only do we meet them where they're at, we're also creating the alleviation of their pain as well. And again, that latter may have cost you money, cost you time, may have cost you energy to do. But again, it's due to the fact that we care enough for the human being in front of us. All that to say, I know my philosophy, like the way that I see the world, is not something that is always so easily accepted in a sense, because I have many conversations with individuals who speak about this war, for instance, going on in Iran. And I know that many have jumped onto the bandwagon that more so focuses on how this was a preemptive attack in order for us to now make sure that we were safe from a situation that could have happened. And I have a hard time working within that view because again, most of this was done based off of information that could or could not have been proper intelligence in the first place. But then also, in a sense, like that preemptive attack is based off of your need to feel as though your need to feel as though your needs are more important than the individual that's also across the different country. Um, the concept of radical empathy brings us into a more human viewpoint where we're not just looking at you as from another country, and because you're from this other country, X, Y, and Z, you are now my enemy. I truly believe that, like for instance, when I push the whole concept that we are a human race, that there is no true notion of race, that race is a concept or a construct that has been created in order to create more division and separation. Uh, it puts me into a position where I think of others from no matter where you are as as the people of respect, of love that you deserve. And so if there was a war, for instance, that was coming in order to cause damage, like I don't want to only look to this war specifically, but like when you look at, for instance, World War II, and you see how Germany, Russia, Italy, the Axis powers, Japan as well, like they were looking to attack with what they were doing. There's a difference between defense and offense. And I
Mm-hmm.
believe that right now, America definitely went on the offense. And when I say America, I want to say United States of America went on the offense for their own personal gain. And for me, that's not something that I'd back. That's kind of where I'm at right now with that perspective in that way.
It's so hard. It's so hard. And how do we not get consumed by the negativity of it? Like, how do we not get like, because you know what I love about the content that you put out is that there's always positivity to it. There's always some comic
Try at
relief.
least.
There's oh, see, you're doing it. You're doing it. It's succeeding because it's not just like you're very good at kind of sharing what's going on, but also sharing positivity. And how
Mm.
do you do how do you do that and not get like dragged down by all of the things happening?
I mean, ultimately, we know that we're living in a world where there's a lot of evil, right? And
Mhm.
so I I'm not I'm not blinded to that, and I think that the more we put ourselves in a position where we look for the positivity, we look for what is going right, not only what is going wrong, it helps us to focus in and want to develop a better world in that sense, right?
Mhm.
Like I get to try, I don't know. I know a lot of people who have a view of me versus you are people who haven't traveled as much or haven't gotten the chance to really experience the world. And so when I go around the world and I connect with people, I go to Asia, I go to Europe, and hopefully I'll be going to Africa this year. Like when I get a chance to really connect with all these, especially for instance, the youth
Mhm.
of these countries, because when we do our program, for instance, and we bring youth from 50, 60 different countries and we're all together in one place, I get to sit down with real people from real countries, from real perspectives, from real different views, from real different religions. And it's like, man, like at the end of the day, we are all people. And so when I think about these wars, to be honest, the first people I start thinking about are these youth that are right there affected the most by it and and yet again it's just seen as a casualty of war. It's just, hey, this is what's necessary in order for us to
Ugh.
get what we need. And as much as nobody will say those exact words, your actions speak a
Some
lot,
people will.
well, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you know, actually you are right.
Some
Some
people will
people
say
would
that.
say it like that, but like at least most people won't say it like that. But however, that's what they believe. They
Mhm.
so by their actions, because their actions speak a lot louder than their words. And so when these kids are dying, when elementary schools are getting bombed and destroyed, like that's what sets me on fire and wondering, is that worth it behind all the else that's happening? Because at the end of the day, most of these wars are due to, again, a defense of, actually, I wouldn't even say a defense. It's still that conquering mentality where they want to have more than what they have. And again, it's a prideful push for for what they believe is necessary for their own survival. And I don't know. For me, I can't look back and look at this and believe that in the next 20 years or 50 years, when we look back, we're going to say that this was profitable for the human being, for the human race in that sense.
Yeah, I want to add this caveat in because I agree with you, and not that I need to agree with you, but I agree with you generally. But I know like one of the first places I heard about everything that happened in Iran, like not everything, sorry, like that their president or whatever was killed and
Hmm.
the bombing happened. The first account that I heard it from was an Iranian account,
Mm.
and it was actually in celebration of the
Yeah.
fact that their leader was dead because he's the one who's been
Yep.
treating women so horribly and creating all these rules against women, right? And so it's this whole matter of like what happened good from the context of the way it was done? No. But did something kind of good kind of maybe come from it if it works out well? Potentially, but that's not there yet. And so it's like this whole piece of recognizing that the view of whichever you hear about the news first it can severely impact the opinion in which you have, and like getting the whole round, trying to get a round table about what's actually going on instead of just one sided, right? Because like obviously I don't support it, but at the same time I'm like, if this does free Iranian people and the other things don't happen, like that's great because like that's been really bad over there, right? But I haven't followed enough to know what's happened since that all happened, so I don't know. But
So,
I just want to say that.
no, I like that you said that because it reminded me, for instance, about Venezuela. And when you look at
Mm.
Venezuela, you see a country that was under the rule of thumb of a tyrant, right? And ultimately, I know many Venezuelans. I've talked to a few of them myself, but many of them were very ecstatic on the fact that their leader, because again, having a leader doesn't mean they're a good leader,
Mm-hmm.
but their leader was gone. And so, like you said, two things, even three things, four things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
However, there are many people who use those examples and say, you see, this is why this had to be done in this fashion. But I always throw it back and ask, okay, what was the motivation behind this? Was it to liberate the people from a tyrannical government? Or was it for you to be able to now use that as a ploy to get in, that now you are able to introduce your own policies, X, Y, and Z in this manner? And so you can find your own benefit from this situation. But I always ask about the motivations behind what's going on. And typically speaking, I'm sorry, I know the US. I'm not saying I know everything, but I've seen enough of its history where they come in to a different country, and with that, they typically make the leave the country worse than how they came in.
Mm.
And so I'm for me, like having a Haitian background, knowing what the United States has done to Haiti, seeing what the United States has done to certain countries in the past as well. But there's been too many that we've seen that I've looked up that when America has come in, yes, it seems as though they came in with liberation, but again, they left the country a lot worse than when they started. So I'm always wary when I see this, and that's why my senses on my radars always just kind of go up in that sense. But like you said, glad like women were not able to be educated. Like that in and of itself is a very
Oh gosh.
messed up for like
They
I
couldn't even be seen in their
could
windows.
even be seeing the one like that's ridiculous. And ridiculous is the least of a term that I could use at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But again, what was the motives behind it? And
Mm-hmm.
Right.
that's what I always ask in that sense.
No, and I
I love
totally
that.
agree with you. It's just
Yeah.
like I really needed to say that because
No, it's good to say.
I I sit on both sides of the fence with that, right? Like on one hand, I'm like I can
Mm.
see why you're celebrating. Absolutely, and I hope it works out good. I hope that there's good that comes from this for you. But the motivations were not ideal. Anyways, this is very way more political than I meant to get. I just really wanted to say that because
But that's good. That's a great caveat to add with that. I think it's important to add. Absolutely.
Do you know, I was so I was very naive about this. I will put my hand up and say that I was naive about this. I assumed, because it was a full assumption, there was no education behind this at all. I assumed that the picture of women in their full like burqas was it had been like that for a long time. I assumed that.
Mm.
And I just learned that I was very wrong and that this is new. I
You.
was
Yeah.
floored when I saw how new that was. Like
Yeah.
I had that set me back. Like that really shook me because it just makes you realize how quickly rights can change
Mhm.
and how much, like how much we have to keep talking and keep advocating and keep teaching our children to love one another and that everybody deserves rights. And like, we cannot just sit back and go, oh, we're good now. Because no, like that happened real fast when you look at the timeline of like women being in politics and then women
Yeah.
not being able to be
Just
seen in their
gone. Yeah.
window. Like that's jarring. That's wild.
Honestly, even you just saying that right there, because
$50 years.
sometimes when I think about it, like I put it into my head, I'm like, man, why do I keep doing this? Like, I'm not even joking when I say this. Sometimes I'm like, man, why do I keep doing this whole radical empathy thing? Like, people know. That's what goes in my head. I'm like, people know. Like, they should know how we should be towards one another, X, Y, and Z. But you keep seeing this, and you see other things that are happening in different countries, other things that are happening in your country, and you're just like, no, people really don't.
What just
People
happened
do.
on the highway?
Well, yeah, 100%, right? Like people they don't actually respect human life. They don't care about individuals. They don't see leadership as a way in which we should serve others and actually care for the well-being of all those who were serving under you. Like they see leadership as a power trip to serve their own ego. And so it makes me know and understand that the work that I have to do is still very viable and very important
Hmm.
throughout the whole time. Because, like you said, it's very recent that that's been going on,
Totally.
and the more and more we can give that level of humanity and I just believe it's a humanity for all people. Like
Hmm.
we have to be willing to push that message because the other message is happening all the time. It's happening all
Oh
the
my
time.
God, yes.
I feel like it's one of those
In our
ones
face.
we were just talking to Mad Canada this morning, and he
Mm,
was like, "Our goal is to run us out of a job, like that would be ideal." And I'm like, I feel
mm.
like same for you, Brian. Like, the goal is if everybody is practicing radical empathy, I don't have to talk
I'm
about it
gone.
anymore, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. That's a great goal. I wish it was. I could say it was super achievable, but
Mm.
it's a it's such a hard thing for lots of people to even think about. When you're mad on the road, somebody cuts you off and you're instantly angry at that person, and it's don't get me wrong, we all have our moment of like, what were you doing? But if you don't, like I've done that, and my kids are like, why would they do? And I'm like, well, they just cut in front of me, and they're like, oh, that wasn't safe. And I'm like, well, it was probably an accident. There's probably something was distracting them. Like it's not. We all make mistakes on the highway. Like we all do
Yeah.
this. It was just a frustrating moment, and then it's like you teach that. Yes, I was frustrated, but that doesn't
Take
mean
a
I can't
breath, man.
understand that they are a human and they made a mistake, and I do it too. And I think
That's
that that's a big
that's
thing that we need to remember, that yeah, but we don't. We just get angry and attack people.
I mean you use the example on the highway. I'm guilty. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm very guilty when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to that because next thing you know, I see somebody acting a fool on the highway, and I'm like, what the heck is this person doing? And the heck is definitely not what I'm saying. Um, but, but I'm sitting back, and then I do this all the time. Like, watch it be some old little lady on the street, and I'm getting mad at, and I drive by, I see the old, I'm like, man, bro, like, why are you getting so mad at this? It's just you just never know what's going on, or you see next thing you know, somebody who's just they may even be having a frustrating conversation in the vehicle. I remember one time I saw somebody crying in the car when they were having they did something messed up, and I looked into it. I saw them crying. I was just like, yeah, like how am I supposed to act? Of course it affected me. It's frustrating, but then again, you just put that perspective. Like, what if they were going through something else, and what if they're not? What if they're stupid and they're driving foolishly? I'm also not negating that fact either, but at least the more we try to understand, it gives us just a second to even breathe. At
Mm-hmm.
least so we can even control our emotions in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like have our own regulated selves so that we can kind of
100%.
react to what's going on around us and just take a minute. I think like everything now is happening so quickly and information is coming to us so quickly. And
Mm,
it's like, if you take the example of the highway, it's like life is a highway right now. Everything is flying at us all the time.
mm.
And for us to just like take
Slow
a minute.
down,
I
man.
always think when I'm driving and I get angry like that, I'm like, would I have said that to their face if they had done that to me like in the coffee lineup? Probably
Most people
not.
wouldn't. 100%.
Right? Like, and it's the same like behind a computer. Like, people are just freely just spewing stuff out, thinking it doesn't.
Hatred
Oh my gosh, it's
is terrible.
unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So, there again, it is so important to keep spreading this message because the other side of things is getting spread very quickly and they're loud, like
Loud.
a radical hatred, and it's loud. So, like,
It's crazy.
teaching
That's real.
radical empathy is so important. Like,
I
oh
feel
I,
like
my
I,
God, that guy on the highway, he was 18 years old, for God's sake. He was a young kid. What the
but he's
heck?
taught. He's taught that. He's
Oh
taught
my
that. You understand what I'm
God.
saying? He's taught that level of
Yes.
hatred in some way, shape, or form, to get to that place where you can do that.
What are we talking
Uh,
about?
The guy, did you hear about this? Brian, you want me to let you tell
no,
the
you
story?
go. No, go ahead. Go ahead. You can say
Because
it.
I might, you will probably know more about it than I do,
I
but
don't. I don't know.
on
Trust me. Go.
on the QE2, there
Yeah.
was an 18-year-old kid that shot and killed um uh, somebody in the other vehicle. And it
When?
was, yeah,
This
it
was
just
about a
happened.
week
Like,
ago.
yeah, it just happened. So this 18-year-old kid shot, and where was the person from again? They were an immigrant, I think,
I'm
from
pretty sure
somewhere.
they're from, and I think they were from India, if I'm not mistaken.
The person who was
Let me,
shot?
Yeah,
yeah, give
and
me one
killed.
second.
And so like his friends just like are in the vehicle with him, and
He was so angry for whatever happened on the highway that he got out and
I
shot a
don't know.
person.
I don't
I
know the
could,
backstory at
if you
all.
don't
I
mind, I could
just
read it right now. It says two
sure,
people
yeah,
have now been charged
yeah.
in connection with a fatal highway shooting south of Edmonton earlier this month. In Alberta, police described as senseless crime. In a news conference Wednesday afternoon, RCMP Staff Sergeant John Brown said 22-year-old Barinder Singh was driving with two close friends on March 14th along the QEII highway near Leduc when he was shot in the neck. Despite being shot, Barinder and his two friends were able to safely stop the vehicle. He died shortly after. Um, Let me see here. According to investigators, there was a brief interaction between those in the two vehicles before the shooting, including a hand gesture resembling a peace sign, which was held up at the victim's car. The victim in the vehicle assumed it was a peace sign and Singh returned the gesture, according to his friends who were also in the vehicle. Moments later, shots were fired from the suspect vehicle, hitting Singh in the neck. The truck sped away at a high rate of speed.
Wow. That's
So,
crazy.
yeah, again, like how when you're dysregulated, you allow your emotions to take yourself to a certain level. That I mean, that's a far example of what can
Mhm.
happen, but absolutely people lose control. They lose control of their emotions, and when they have certain uh, means at the time, they can also it could turn into a deadly mess, could turn
Yeah.
into a terrible situation, all because you have no understanding of human life. Because for me to be able to do that and affect so many people, because taking his life affects the people in the vehicle, affects family, affects hundreds, like the ripple effect of all of that affects
Mhm.
your family, affects your life, affects your decisions, like your impact for your future. All of that is done because of a one decision where you were not able to regulate who like your emotions in that moment.
Yeah. I feel like that's the piece that makes it radical empathy, right? I feel like it's really easy, no, I shouldn't say easy, but generally speaking, easy to be empathetic if you've just come from a room full of kittens that they're loving and petting
Mm,
and someone does something that would normally piss you off. You're already in this calm state
mm,
and you're like, "Oh, it's okay." Right? But then
yeah.
that raises you a little bit and then the next thing raises you a little bit unless you go back to the kittens all the time. And as if you like kittens, I guess. But it when the radical piece comes in is when you actually are heightened and you are angry and you do have to like you literally have to check yourself while you're even high in those emotions to be like, what is this person experiencing? What's going on beyond myself right now? I don't know.
So what you just said right there, no, don't say I don't know. What you just said right there was exactly it. Because for instance, the keynote that I'm doing next or this month, it's radical empathy, leading under pressure. The whole point is for us to be able to lead when situations aren't always going the best. And how do we
Mhm.
still exhibit that level of radical empathy, of understanding, of care when it's not reciprocated, when it's not seen, when it's not given to you? How can you still do that for someone else? And I'm gonna be sharing this as well, but I'll talk about it in your podcast. Like when I was my first week at a school when I was teaching, and I had a kid yelling the N-word at me in a small town in Indiana. Like the radical empathetic step was, why does he even feel the need to do this in this moment? What is he taught? What is he shown?
Mhm.
And in fact, I always tell people, what was my reaction to the situation? What do you think I did next? I always like to ask a question
I
because I
mean,
always
I
like
know
to.
the answer to this because you told
Did
us
I
this
tell you
once,
that?
but
Oh, I
yeah,
told you guys this one
I'm
already.
pretty
Already?
sure. And
Did I tell you that? Melissa, do you know?
I think
you took
so.
him for
Yeah.
coffee or ice cream or
Took them.
something,
Yeah,
right?
there you go. Took them to Dairy Queen, right? So that's the whole thing.
So good.
But again, is it easy? No. We're not saying that radical empathy is an easy step. What we're saying is, how do you choose to lead when situations are at its highest pressure moment? Because that reveals much more about your character than it reveals about anybody else.
Hmm.
Better isn't always easier.
No, I like
Sometimes
that.
it's harder,
Can you talk
right?
about that though? Like if someone responds, like in the story that you just told, where someone's yelling
Yeah.
words, hurtful words at you, harmful, awful words, um, and you're obviously, I'm sure inside you wanted to be angry or hurt or whatever you were feeling. If someone does respond with that, how do they, and then they later recognize this is not the best choice, what would you then encourage someone to do to do the next step of trying to go back to fix radical empathy as best as they can in that to rectify the situation?
Are you talking about the person who received the pain or the person who's
The person who received the negative.
so one more time. Let me hear that question in that. I just want to make sure I have that framework. Go
Put
ahead
it
one more
So
put
time.
it in.
this young man is yelling at you,
Yeah.
and many people would respond with anger.
Yeah.
So let's say you had responded with anger,
Mm-hmm.
and then later left the situation being like, maybe I shouldn't have responded with anger. Like if that someone had
Oh,
done
well,
that, what
yeah,
would
that's
you what would your advice be? Because I think a lot of times people they don't respond the right way in the first
yeah.
initial interaction, and then they're ashamed because it's like, well, now I got to stand my ground. Now I got to be this person
Uh,
that I was, right?
quite simply put, and I believe that you pretty much nailed it on there. We don't like to go back and admit fault. And I think that's one of the gravest dangers when it comes to our relationships with one another. If I can't come back and say to you, I messed up, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. In fact, like I remember, one of my supervisors had told me that one time. He said, you don't, it's not good to apologize because apologies are a sign of weakness. And I'm like, it just doesn't connect well with that because ultimately, when you connect with someone and you want to rectify relationships, you have to be able to put yourself in a position where you say, I do apologize. And even if the person was in the wrong, you can still find what you did wrong in a situation to mend that relationship. Or forget even about mending the relationship. If again, like we talked about, I can't expect respect out of somebody I didn't teach respect. Like if I want somebody to see a different way of life, or if I care enough to do that, then again, I'm gonna be willing to model that level of, man, I was heated, I went off on you, I'm sorry. I wasn't happy with what you said, but I also didn't react the best way. It's important for us to be able to model that life for, especially for our kids. When you get older, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it becomes that much more difficult to teach that to a full-grown adult who believes and is strong in their ways. I think if I'm not mistaken, I think the statistic was you're like 4.5 times more likely to be more flexible and malleable in your brain as a teen and a young adult rather than as a full-on adult. And so if we really do want to make those changes in our youth when their brains are so plastic or have so much plasticity in that sense and willing to take in information, we have to be able to do that work as well and show them the modeled life that we want to see out of them too. And so again, not easy, but let's make those apologies. Let's step in the gap. Let's show them what it looks like to say I was wrong, and but also like have a conversation through the whole ordeal because they messed up, you messed up, they may have messed up worse, right? But still, like, how do I still show you that as a grown individual, an adult, I can show you, a model that life of, hey, we do apologize. We do come back to rectify and reshape how things are done. Um, it just depends on the person, though. They have to want it for themselves. And most people would rather allow the relationship to break and mold than to try to do the work. But it's work.
Yeah, people would rather break
Yeah.
a relationship than change themselves to fix it, for sure.
It's wild. Okay, Sammy, I have a fun thing to introduce you to today.
You
Have
do.
you? I do. Have you heard of Bake Like a Betty?
I have heard of it, but I'll be honest, I know basically nothing about it.
Okay.
Except that she's in High River. I got that going for me.
She's in High River. It's my girl Amanda. Amanda Politsky is her name, and she is the bomb. She was diagnosed as a celiac, and it was super overwhelming for her. And she is like this girl that's like always out there looking for solutions and wanting to help people. She is on a mission to remove some of the overwhelm when it comes to like your diagnosis as celiac or even gluten intolerant. She has this beautiful tiny house that she moved onto her property, and it is a 100% gluten-free facility. So it's its own kitchen. Not an ounce of gluten has entered this facility. And she is making things like cakes and cookies and cookie cakes, and she does flour mixes. And she also puts on these really fun gluten-free baking classes you can go with your girlfriends. And I'm telling you, my family, we aren't gluten-free, but we love her baking.
That sounds really cool. Okay, so she does cookies, cakes, I'm assuming cupcakes if she does cakes. So
Yeah.
all of your party needs. I think it's really neat what you said there, that it's not just about her baking doing that, but she's on a mission to make it easier for other people. Can you tell me what is she putting on for other people that helps, that's moving that forward beyond selling cookies and cakes?
So I'm actually going to put a pause on that, and I'm going to tell you we're going to have Amanda on for an episode because she is so inspiring. Bake Like a Betty is providing the product. Amanda provides the inspiration. She's constantly thinking of things to kind of expand her market and also to get her message out there that living a gluten-free life doesn't have to be unfun. You can still have fun doing it. So you can find her at bakelikeabetty.ca, or you can find her on socials at bakelikeabetty.
Okay, I got one.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just
No,
gonna say, I think that's even a big thing when it comes, like because you brought up politics. I figure I'll say this, like even in political situations, I think that you can get into conversations where there's very opposing opinions and you fire at each other or whatever.
Yep.
And walking away and being able to come back and say like, I still stand my ground about my belief, but I don't think I handled it very well. Can we? But I'd like to maybe understand your perspective more. Can we have a conversation about this? Do you know what I mean? Like walking in, we can still do that. It doesn't mean you're trying to change your opinion or trying to change their opinion, but you can mend that disagreement you both had with a conversation instead of still just standing your ground and avoiding the topic altogether, I
I
think.
think I agree with you. I think if we sat at the table of understanding a lot more, and literally, and when I say the table of understanding, I mean sit at a table with someone and actually have a conversation about politics, there would be a lot less antics that are happening and a lot more real conversations and trying to just understand perspectives rather than just bashing individuals in that sense. Because most people, a lot of their fights are happening online now, and so it's so easy to just bash individuals online and just write a comment, talk about how stupid you are. You have no idea what you're talking about. But yet again, they're being fed a whole ton of information from like one side, as well as you being fed a whole bunch of information from another side. Right? Like, how do we find a way to sit down at the table of understanding and just being able to hear each other? Again, you might not be able to change positions on this, but at least it doesn't rift relationships, or at least it doesn't make it seem as if it's you versus me. We are enemies.
Yeah.
However, I will say on that one point though, if your politics, which some do, if your politics affect human rights, I will never agree.
There's a line. There's a
There you
line.
go.
That's
There it
There's
is.
a line.
yeah, I will
Mm-hmm.
never agree, and I'll
Yeah.
never back like be able to come to a quote unquote understanding on that. But
Yeah.
again, still, even with that, still it's important to understand why, and that's why radical empathy, I know some people don't like this, but I still want to understand how this person got to this position. Because
Hmm.
when you understand how they got there, you can look to make sure that that cycle is not repeated over and over into someone else as well.
Yeah.
And so, again, the radical
Mm.
empathetic approach or the view of empathy ultimately is it answers questions. It goes deeper into the root. It's not about making statements. It's about asking better questions. And so we're able to not enable behavior or excuse behavior, but it explains the behavior. And I think that that's what helps us to really understand people more and see this view of empathy not just as a feeling, but I'm turning it, a lot of my research right now is turning empathy into a tool, into a precision of accuracy that helps us to use it as a means to get better views and perspectives on all situations that are happening in front of us.
Yeah.
I love that you just went there because that's exciting. You both did it. Just like that's exactly where I was gonna go next. I'm so
Awesome.
glad you guys both brought that up because that's exactly what I was gonna bring up was just like, how do we get to that point when it seems like there is so much division right now and it is
Mm,
so heated? And how do you get to that point when somebody is saying something that is like, feels like it's just like right at your very soul core of
mm,
what you believe in to be wrong, and then you've got somebody sitting there saying that and you're like, what? It's jarring. Like
mm.
it's like that. Yeah, that is hard. I don't know if I had a question in there or if you guys just kind of both went there at the same time. It's like, yes, that's exactly where I wanted to go. Like having empathy for somebody that so strongly believes in something that you think is just flat out wrong is
I feel like it's
that's
maybe not even
hard.
empathy, it's just respect. Like you can respect them as a person and not respect
What
their
happens
opinion
when
or their
that changes
value.
though? What happens when that changes? When your opinion, when not your, when somebody's opinion comes in and it is crossing all the lines for you, that you're starting to lose respect for them, then what? How
How
do we
about
stop this great big divide that's happening?
Check
I
yourself.
don't think it's wrong for us to have a like a disrespect of somebody else's perspective and views. I don't
Yeah.
think that's wrong. I think that's okay. I
Yeah.
think it's completely okay for us to to like attack the view
Hmm.
and still not be able to like devalue the human being that has the
There it
view.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people who have I've seen a lot of I've worked with a lot of people who have terrible views.
Yeah.
But again, my view is I value all people. And so
Mm,
it's my view. And I
yeah.
don't care about what your view is. Your view says you only care for some. I say, okay, I care for all. And so
Yeah.
your view says, okay, I can do this to this person. My view says
Mm-hmm.
that's terrible to do. Like again, like that's why it comes back to us. Like we have to be a lot more introspective in the way that we choose to be in this world. Because when you look back and you understand who you are, it gets you into a position where you're able to be a lot more secure in your
Hmm.
decision making. But now you have to be accountable for the way you think and the way you act and the way and what comes out of your mouth. And so, yeah, somebody, I think it's perfectly fine to attack positions.
Yeah.
That's not the it's now I don't have to again lessen the value of the person. Okay, I saw this video, and I know this video. I don't know if I've shared this one before, man, but I'll never forget when I saw this old man forgive this what was he like serial killer, and he
Mm-hmm.
had killed like 7 or 8 different people, I think women specifically, and this old man came in, he talked about how he killed his daughter, and he was like, and everyone was like, I hope you rot in hell, hope you die, all this different stuff, and he came in and he was just like, um, you've made it very difficult for me to live according to what I believe. But I forgive you for what you've done. Um, and I'm hoping that you can find peace in your life too. The man was so stoic, like the other guy, right? Like he was stoic in his view. You see him just like stone faced. He didn't care about anything. And the second that man said that, he just broke down into tears. Now, again, do we say, "Oh man, look at that. He had a heart." We shouldn't stop. We shouldn't have him go to jail or prison. No, man, get that boy like
Yes.
he that boy need to be in prison for decades, for two lifetimes, right? For five, for how many lives he's taken, make it that a lifetime for what he has done. Again, that position doesn't remove the consequences of the action, but when you find peace and healing for yourself, that's your choice, right? From that situation.
Mhm.
But to again have empathy for him and some people are going to be like, how do you have empathy for him? It's not about you having to feel and love and care. No, it's about understanding what got him to this place
Mhm.
so that this does not again repeat itself into
Mm.
someone else. So we can now look at the roots to what caused this man to get to that way so that if we ever see it again in little Johnny, when he's 5 or 10, we can now start on the work of healing so that little Johnny doesn't have to be 20, 25 with a lot more power and now do the same problems or same pains that we have seen this serial killer do as well. And again, I
Mhm.
know it's not like my time in the juvie really changed my perspective on this, on how I see people in the world around me. Because I was very black and white. It was like, nah, this is wrong, this is right, like this is how life is, X, Y, and Z. And I was just like, damn, bro. 21 years old, and like my world got flipped upside down. And so I think it's
Because
just, yeah.
what
Sorry, go ahead.
what was your role there again?
A youth
You were
juvenile detention specialist.
I
Yeah.
just
So
I just want to repeat what you just said because I think that is exactly people hear the word empathy and they hear like who was it? I think it was Elon Musk was saying that empathy is weakness or
the
whatever. And
weakness, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think what you were just
dangerous
talking
thing to
about with that
say.
person and having how can you have empathy for that person and you said like empathy doesn't remove consequence, and I think that that's the problem that a lot of people have is we think because you have empathy for somebody it means it removes the consequence of their actions, but
Mhm.
empathy doesn't remove consequence.
Uh,
Empathy
Mm.
releases your judgment and frees you from whatever you're holding on that person
mhm.
ultimately. I mean, it does other things for that person too, but it like it's releasing you entirely, and the person still has to deal with the consequences of their actions, regardless
100%. Yeah.
of what
Mhm.
happened. So I think that that's a big
I
piece
love
that people
that.
miss is that empathy doesn't remove consequence. I like that
Mhm.
sentence.
I
I
So
like
so
like
it a
it.
lot.
check this. Like Jotham John forgot the boy's name, man. Both of them Jean. Both of them Jean. There's a court case when he forgives the cop who killed his brother, who walked into the like into his apartment, and she said, oh, she thought it was her apartment. Ended up shooting the guy, but found out that that was actually like they were exes and stuff like that, and so the story was really muddled, and she just pretty much wanted to take his life. Um, the brother forgives her, right? And everyone's like, "Yo, man, that's crazy," and I was cool with that. But then he says, "I hope she doesn't get charged," and I'm like, "Yeah, nah." Like, like that's where as much as
There's
again
the line.
there's the line, like yes, I can forgive someone who has done me harm and pain. It doesn't remove consequence. Empathy does not
Mhm.
remove consequence. Forgiveness doesn't remove consequence.
Mhm.
um by us, at least in my personal views, right? Like we just have to be able to go to a place where we see empathy again like as this tool of precision, and that's why
Mhm.
I'm using it for leadership development precision. I'm using it for in schools. It's just all in a way for us to use this as a tool more so than just a feeling.
Can I ask you, this is kind of a little bit of a jump from what we were just talking about,
Sure.
but when we first sat down with you, Bryan, you were just I mean, you've been talking a little bit about radical empathy. Well, you're talking a lot about radical empathy, but you had just started your speaking career in radical
Mm,
empathy. Like you were just kind of getting down that road.
yeah.
Can we, and I know I remember that conversation so much. Can we ask though, how, if or what, anything's changed from that point of teaching that you've maybe learned along the way that shifted things that you are teaching now?
You could even see it in what I'm saying. Like, I don't remember talking about precision, accuracy, these types of terminologies with empathy as much. Even though uh, I may have understood it in some way, shape, or form, I still was pushing empathy in a more feelings-based view rather than like precision tool. The more research you do, the more conversations I have. Like I had a conversation with an individual who had done 500 successful hostage negotiations, and he told me, he said, Bryan, my best tool was empathy. It's not that I felt nice for the guy or the people that were causing the problems. He was like, no, but I needed to understand what was going on in the back, like within their minds, so I can now fix that problem, like fix the actual problem that's right in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
He said, if I didn't have empathy in some way, shape, or form, I wouldn't be able to do the job that I did. So I'm like, dang, man, like this is this is bigger than just again, just feelings based emotional view of empathy. Empathy has a lot of action, choice, and intentionality behind the work. It's just like as if I'm pulling out a hammer from my toolbox. I make it, and like there are times where you're gonna have. In fact, I'm even at a position where you don't always need to use empathy. Sometimes you don't even there might not even have a time where empathy will always be capable in a certain sense. When I'm more so say empathy, I'm going to even use radical empathy. There are times where you can't always jump into that ladder with everybody and fix everybody's situations. That like you'd be a Superman. Like it's impossible for you to do that. I can't. For instance, I talk about the homeless individual that, or excuse me, the personal experience homelessness. I can't do that for every single individual that I've seen experiencing homelessness. But when I have the means, when I have the time, when I have the energy, or if I can be like if I'm inconvenienced and I know I'm able to do it, like then why not? Why not make that choice? And I think that that's one of the things. It's like we think empathy has to be so it takes us out of ourselves. I guess it does, though. It does take us out of ourselves. But again, we have to be deliberate and intentional behind that choice because it is a selfless decision. It is a very selfless decision. And I just hope that people are able to come to this place where they're okay being inconvenienced in these manners because a little inconvenience can go a long way for some people at times.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Yep.
Or this whole view as well was more of a speech first when we first talked. Right now, I've created more of a framework, and the
Mm.
framework is what I'm using now to go into a lot more schools, and that's why a lot of people are also coming in and wanting me to come in to do the work because it's gone from just a nice speech to a developed like yeah, for lack of better terms, a developed
Process.
process. I like that process and framework that they can use and apply every single day. So it's not as
Absolutely.
abstract anymore. I would say there's a lot more fundamental pieces that when people come and speak to me now, they're able to say, okay, here's the PPP method, the policy practice perspective method. Here's the 5A model that I created. And, so like there's multiple different steps now that I'm able to just say, here, this is what you can do. Here's the uplift development program. And that you break down all the concepts of what uplift actually means, right? And so like these are the things that now are less of a theory, even though I never thought it was a theory, but it's just less theorized and much more practical in this element.
So great.
That makes
That's
sense.
so great. We're so proud of you. It's so cool. I
Thank
love
you.
what you're doing.
You guys have
Like, it's
seen the
so
journey, man.
great.
I appreciate
Well,
y'all.
a little bit of
I
it.
love it. I
Nah,
love
man,
it.
I appreciate y'all. That's real.
I want to,
It's
you
so
earlier you were
good.
talking about, sorry, I will let you go quick soon here, Brian, but I just want to ask because
No,
earlier
no
you were
problem.
talking about um, like introspection and how important introspection is in order to be able to give empathy because you
Yeah.
need to be able to see what it is that you're feeling yourself in order to be able to control that and look into the other person. Um, when you come across someone, especially maybe a younger person, I mean, even a full grown adult, this would apply to too, and they are
Mm.
really struggling to to have that introspection, how would you help somebody
Mhm.
learn that?
It's a really good question, actually. Um, hmm. More so than anything, I think we have to look back at our childhood. And when we look at who we were as a kid, and we ask ourselves, what did we need when we were a child? Uh, our younger version of ourselves is vulnerable. It's learning. That's at its weakest, right? Like it's where people can use us. Sometimes a lot of abuse may have happened, X, Y, and Z, right? And so the easiest person to look back on to say, this is the person who needed empathy, this is the person who needed more understanding, is our childhood self. And so if a person can have some more introspect, like have some more view on that kid, and I believe it can get us to a place where we can also start looking at others in a way as well. That's a lot more, uh, I would say, just more graceful with our approach towards them. Because then we can start saying to ourselves, well, they were a kid too at some point. They went through certain situations. They also have dealt with a lot. And a lot of us as adults are just big kids that are just trying to deal with the problems that have been given to us. And so, a person who has a hard time with introspection, it's as an adult, it's difficult. It's difficult because it is a practice. It's not something that is just done randomly. Because when you have introspection, you're demanding the best out of yourself, but you're also uh, like you're examining yourself all the time to see like why do I do what I do? And most of the time when we do those types of examinations, we find that there's a lot of issues behind that. We don't want to deal with those issues. And the reason why I talked about the child likeness to that is because most of the time when we examine, we realize that it's some sort of deep-seated issue that happened since we were a kid, or something that happened from our past that led us to think or believe the way that we believe today. And so if we can just think more about what our younger self needed, maybe that'll give us a little bit more time to have introspection, also to have more empathy for the younger generation that we see as well. Because these kids, they're the same as us. As much as people want to say, oh, this generation is completely different. No, they're not different. They have different tools, but
Ooh.
they they wanted connection. That's why they're on social media all the time. We didn't want connection. That's why we ran outside all the time. That's where our friends were. We want people to admire us, to value us. That's why we cried whenever people, spoke a certain way towards us, at home or around. But these kids now, that happens online. That happens in the cyberspace. It's all a lot. They're all dealing with the same situations. Just have different means to get that done. And some of those means can carry a lot more weight. Because now it 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 actually these digital footprints keep up their whole life, right? It stays with them their whole life, kind of thing. So when we made mistakes, well, we had a Polaroid picture that that like that may have come out, and it's like, come on, that's barely anything, right? Like you have to go to Costco to go get your pictures like that. Like, we're living in a completely different world right now. So that's why, but these kids, we're all the same, man. We're all the same. They just have different tools as to how they're getting it done. But if we were in this generation and we were 12, 13 years old, we'd be the same way. And that's why they just need mentors. They need people like us to care enough about them to try to give them a view for life and to pour into them too. So if somebody has, I mean, kind of going right all the way back to your point, if somebody has an issue with introspection, man, try your best to look at your younger self or what your younger self needed, and just practice that exercise and examine your life, examine yourself. Just try to ask a lot of questions. For me, I'm at a place where I'm learning that even more and more. In fact, empathy forces you to do this. It forces you to realize you don't have all the answers, and it's okay. And the more questions we ask, the better uh, we're able to see people. And when we have a better view of people, we have a better way in which we would handle people as well.
Mm. Yeah,
I love that so much.
I do. I think that, and I do love that so much. I like that when we have a better view of people, we have a better way of handling people. I think the biggest trick when you're talking about the generations now with social media, and again, they're looking for the same things we were looking for, but real life cannot keep up with social media in terms of like, for example, Bryan, here's a really simple example. Like your wife can get up in the morning and look banging, and you're like, you look great, you look fantastic, dang girl. And she's going to go out and she can have that on her mind. And if she posts a photo of herself, that same photo that you just complimented online, the amount of likes and attention that she can get online from one photo will significantly outweigh the one that she can get in person, because she can get 500 of them here and only one over here. And so I think that's
Yeah.
a really big trick for them now, is they're seeking the same thing, but it's practically impossible to get the same dopamine hits in real life that you can get online in that regard, because everybody in your high school can like your outfit online. In real
Mhm.
life, your three friends or however many you're close to are going to compliment your outfit, and those are great compliments. Those are great. I'm not there's those should exist, but
Yeah.
if we don't practice that in person, then social media will take over that, because we think that we're getting more from that. There's so many other dopamine things, but we're getting so much more from it, right? We can't compete in real life.
But that's why these
So,
kids are getting AI friends too.
mm-hmm.
And they're like, I think the study said, I just looked this up last week and it kind of blew my mind that 52% of teens right now, if I'm not, it's something of that nature, 52% have some sort of AI companion now. And it's like, it's sad because clearly they're looking for connection. They're looking for people who want to who can like have deeper conversations with, can talk to them about certain things, but they're not getting it, and so they're finding it within these AI companions. And
Like a
that
companion, as in like a full
As
on.
in Jenny, Melissa.
Is that Jenny? I knew you were going to bring up Jenny.
Melissa told me her ChatGPT story the other day, and it's with
I'm
her. She
guessing you're
calls it
referring to
Jenny.
Jenny. There
I've
you
never
go.
used ChatGPT, so I judge
I
her all
call
the time.
ChatGPT Jenny.
That's hilarious. Wait, you haven't used ChatGPT? I respect
She's.
you, eh? I
She goes, I
respect
don't
you.
even know how to
I don't
access
know.
it.
I don't know.
I respect you. That's real. I do my best. I mean, I'm respectful to chat, but but I haven't named the chat GPT. No, that's
But like only because I kept tripping over it.
I'm just
ChatGPT,
bugging you. Just
ChatGPT.
juggling you.
But okay, but when we say companion, is that
no,
are we
no, we're
talking
talking.
about like a full on like are we talking about like I've nicknamed ChatGPT Jenny? Does that mean
No,
ChatGPT
we're
is my
talking.
companion? Or are we talking about
No,
a
we're
full
talking
on
like
personality build?
personality build. Like they're answering questions about your life. Like you're, man, why did this person do this? And they're messaging the chat to get answers. But then it gets to a place where that companion, like for instance, is sad. But there was a companion that told a kid to take his own life.
I heard about that.
Yeah, right. And
It's
like
terrifying.
and so
It's terrifying. That's
It's a
terrifying.
sad way that
Hmm.
our youth are looking for connection, looking for
Hmm.
deeper worth, self value, right? And if they're
Hmm.
not getting it from the people in their lives, they gotta go look for it in some way, shape, or form. And right
You're right. Now
now,
there's tools.
there's so many more tools to find it.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild.
Yeah. So like, yeah, they're not. It's not. They're looking for the exact same things we were. It's just they
Yep.
have these tools,
We
and if it's not
where we used to write
helped,
secret letters and hide them underneath our bed. They're in
awful
little
time.
squares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways,
Wild.
oh my gosh,
Yeah.
Melissa, do you have any other
Love
questions
it,
you want to
Brian.
ask Brian?
I was going to ask what you would do if you walked into a room and you heard somebody speak an opinion that was massively against your like human rights boundary and you're in the room with them. What do you do?
I'm not saying what everybody needs to do. Don't do what I do, but like me.
Yeah. What do you do?
I would be like, yo, like, why do you think that? I would just again throw questions, because
Question. I like that.
you have to now answer the question. If I say, yo, you're wrong for that, right? Like, what the heck is
Hmm.
wrong with you? They'll be like, well, they can become defensive and they can, refute that. You don't even know why I'm wrong. But when you throw a question, it demands an answer. And so
Yeah.
now they have to be in a position where they say, well, this person did this, X, Y, and Z. And you just keep throwing
I love
keep
that.
throwing little questions to get as much as you can, as in a sense, like as much ammo as you can, in order for you to fully refute that position. So I'll give a quick example. I think you may have seen this on my Instagram, but when I saw the dude with uh the Confederate flag in Canada,
Yes, oh, I
I
love that.
saw it. Yeah, I
I
was
love
like,
when you did that.
I
Hmm.
didn't. I wasn't just like, yo, you're wrong. Why are you doing like you're wrong for this? I said, hey, where you from? He's like, oh, I'm from Ontario. I'm like, oh, okay, or from here. I was like, oh, like, where's your family from? Oh, family from Ontario. I was like, oh, okay. Do you have family? Like, I'm again just asking questions. You got family in the States? No, I ain't got no family in the States. You have relatives? Like, have you ever lived in the States? No, I've never lived in the States. Families from Ontario, all happy. I was like, oh, okay. So now I got my ammo, I got my information,
Hmm.
and I'm like, why you got a Confederate flag? Again, it's still a question, but now they
Yep.
can't answer it because
Yep.
they've already given me everything that I need. And so it's like, so again, when you ask the right
I love that.
questions, people have to now, they have to give an answer to their question. And most of the time, what you'll see is if they can't answer it well with a
Hmm.
view that clearly is just completely deranged, they'll just they'll just attack you as a person,
Hmm.
right? They'll attack you as a person, and you already won. You don't have to continue. Just
Yep.
like as long as what they're doing is not it's not like directly like affecting someone
Hmm.
right then and there.
Hmm.
You can't stop everybody's view,
Yep.
but if you can, question it. Just question
I
the
love
view.
that.
And when you question the view, it has to give an answer to the. And that's why whenever people question me, I'm like, yeah, question me, because I already know where I'm going. Like
Yes.
I feel very confident, knowing that my positions will hold human value to every person that I see. And I know there are certain aspects that may also have differences of views and positions, but again, I have no problem answering what I believe because at the end of the day, I try to do everything that I can that my positions and how I think
Hmm.
uh, reflect in a manner that will respect the human dignity in each person that's across from me.
I love that so much. This is
Yeah.
such a good answer. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Brian. Thanks for
I
joining us
love
for
it.
a conversation. We didn't know where it was going to go, but we kind of had some thoughts.
I loved it. I don't know about you. I'm
Love it.
very grateful. I'm really grateful again. Appreciate both of you. You guys are both great and just always able to have these conversations. It's always a pleasure. And again, I didn't know where I was going either, but you asked some really good questions and we had some good sight through it. So I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you spending your time with us, even though you're tired and you're so busy. And we just, we
Again, I have
appreciate
nothing
you.
to complain about.
Well, yeah, we're so grateful. Thank you again so
Appreciate it,
much.
yeah.
So cool. Keep doing what you're doing. We love it. We love following along, and we'll be watching for the podcast when it comes out.
Sounds good. Appreciate
Yeah.
that. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thanks, Brian. Have a
Okay.
good night.
Freaking love that answer so much. I love that answer so freaking much.
Which one?
The ask questions thing.
Oh,
I'm like, dang. I just align with that so much because there's so much being said right now about like how you have to stand up for what you believe in. And I just think there are other ways to do it too.
well, and I
And
think
that's part of it.
if you ask a question like he's saying, instead of making a statement, like he said, you're not opposing the person. You're just asking questions, right? So the
Yeah.
person's not offended or defensive. They're just going to answer the questions, and you're just
Yeah.
gathering information. And then if you so choose
I
to,
love
if
it.
it makes sense to you, you can be like, okay, well, you said this and this and this, but it doesn't
Mhm.
line up with this, and you're
Yeah.
still asking
Like,
a question, but you're not.
did you-
And you're stating your point at the same time.
Yeah, totally. Like, did you see that reel he did with the Confederate flag?
No,
I
I
was
didn't.
so happy when he did that because that always makes me shake my head because I'm like, we're in Alberta. Like you're flying that flag because you think it looks cool. Let's just be real. You don't know the history behind it, or you do, and check yourself.
Yeah.
Or you don't know the history behind it. You think it's a cool flag without realizing what
What
you're
it is.
flying. And that guy just got called out big time.
Oh, now I gotta go
I
watch the
just-
reel.
Oh my god!
I
love
always
it.
say
I was
that,
gonna.
like, I'll always say to AJ whenever, like, right now there's all the Alberta separatists people everywhere, right? And I'm like, I would just love to ask them questions. And AJ's like, why?
Why?
I'm
Well,
just
I have
so
a house you can go
curious.
to.
I'm just so,
I have-
well, I don't want to. Like, I do want to. But
I
like,
do.
they're always at the dog park. They're always not like they're like parked in the
Mhm.
parking lot with their
Mhm.
thing. And I always just love to be like, can I just ask you, like, why?
curious.
Like, why do you want to separate? And then
I'm just curious.
what do you think would make what would be better? Why would it be better? And why do you believe that would be better? And have you considered, like, what about, don't you ever worry that if Alberta just separates, we'll just become part of the states, or is that what you want? Do you know what I mean?
Oh, there's so. I
If
have
you want to be part
questions.
of the states, why don't you move to the states? Like, I don't.
I wondered that the other day
know.
too. I was thinking. I was like, well, I don't understand. But I mean, like, I don't understand. But I like, I was laughing the other day because I was like, and I'm curious too. Like, I'm full curiosity. I was laughing the other day because I went down this street and this house is flying like a lot of Albertan flags, and I was like, I don't know that the third one on the pole is going to change anybody's mind. I don't know if that's the way to go about it. Like, if you want to change somebody's mind, I don't know if collecting flags and flying them is going to do it, or if it just makes you a target for like,
And I would just like to
right?
be
Like,
so,
don't. Why are you doing? Just let's just have a conversation.
I
Let's
would
just talk to
be
each
like,
other.
So,
like
you love
human to
Alberta.
human.
I'm getting that you love Alberta. Is that accurate?
I'm picking it
Yeah,
up.
I'm picking it up. Okay, so how did Alberta become Alberta? Can you tell me? I don't know the history. Can you tell me how Alberta became Alberta? What was the process? And then, like, so, like, if Alberta wasn't part of Canada when it became Alberta, would it still be Alberta?
Anyways, no, I love having conversations with him. I love the way he looks at the world, and I'm just so grateful that he would spend his time with us again today. So, thanks,
Same.
Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
I want to tell the story because it was like one of those moments of like I was really angry and reacted, and then was like took me a minute to be like, hold on, you know what I mean? Like what's going? I can't remember. It was last summer. I can't remember the specifics, but I was walking. I think I was walking to pick up my kids from school, or perhaps not. I don't remember. Either way, I was walking through a school zone right around the corner from my house, and this guy. Oh, yeah, no, we were walking back. So all my kids were with me. And he speeding through this school zone. Like, kids are getting out. It wasn't our school zone. It was the other school zone we have to walk through to get home. And just, like, speeding. And I, like, yelled at him. I was like, slow down. Like, you're in a kid zone. Like, I yelled pretty loudly, pretty angrily. And then he pulled over, like, I don't know, a ways up the street from us. Pulled over and Sloan was like, why'd you do that? I was like, well, he's driving really fast in a school zone, and like that's inappropriate. He could hurt somebody, blah, 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 blah. Like there's school zones for whatever. And then we kept walking, and I leaned into the window and I said, like, I said, do you know that you're going through a school zone? And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, you just like whizzed through a school zone. Like kids are getting out of school and you just whipped through. And he was like, and he looked back. He's like, oh. And I was like, you should probably not drive so fast through a school zone. And he was like, okay. And then we walked away. And then I said to Sloan, and I said, he looked a little confused, didn't he? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, and we walked back to the house. I can't remember. I only had Sloan with me. I can't remember why I didn't have the other kids. But we walked back to the house and I said, do you think we should go check and see if he's okay? And she was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. Like he was speeding through a school zone. He looked very confused when we talked in his window. I think we should go see if he's okay. And she's like, okay. So we walked back. And as we walked back, he was just driving down the road. And I kind of waved at him. And he pulled into the alley. And I said, are you okay? And he was like, I have a flat tire and I don't know where there's a tire shop. And I was trying to get there before I ran out of air. And I don't know what to do. He didn't know the area. He lives up in the north. And his phone, he had no service. Like he didn't have like roaming or anything. He had no Wi-Fi. He had no way to find anything. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I think we can help you. Is it just wait here? So then we went to the house and my husband wasn't home, but my neighbors were. And so I knocked on their door and I'd seen him changing his tires. I was like, do you have a tire jack? He was like, yes. So I like recruited my neighbor. My neighbor came over and put on his spare tire. And then we like gave him directions to the closest tire shop so he could go and get a spare tire. And it was like,
oh my God. That is an unbelievable story. Only you.
Not
only
me.
you.
Not only
yes.
me. No. But it was just one of those moments. I was like, I was really annoyed. I was like, I yelled at him and like in front of my kids and other people's kids, because there was kids everywhere, for speeding through the school zone. And I was kind of snotty at him when I looked. Like I tried not to be, but I was kind of not super polite when I stuck my head in his window to be like, you just sped through a school zone. Like he was whipping. And then I was like, well, maybe there was a reason. Maybe there was some vibes there that I'm picking up. He wasn't like angry or something. So,
wow.
Anyways.
Good for you.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
All I kept thinking is like, what a great example for my daughter. Not like I'm a great example. I didn't mean like that.
Totally.
I mean like, but to my daughter to be like, in the moment of like, he did something wrong, and here's his position. Here's where he was coming from, right? Like not like because look at your mother. I don't mean it that way. I mean like to have a moment to reflect on other people's situations.
Totally.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. To help support the growth of this podcast, please feel free to leave us a review, follow us on socials, or recommend us to your friends. Your support honestly means the world to us. With love, Sammy and Melissa.